Hello and welcome to a look at the Chaos engine for the Amiga, a game that was developed by the Bitmap brothers and released by Renegade. This video will be covering the later released AGA version of the Chaos engine, but of course the game was originally released for the OCS, ECS, Amigas, and because of that I will be putting in about a minute of comparison between the two versions so you can tell the difference. The AGA version has a brighter color palette and apparently a few more sound effects here and there, but graphically the games are very similar outside of the changed color palette. People have been arguing, and I can agree to that to a certain point, that the original release looks more appropriate for the game type and the fact that it is a cyberpunk-ish game. It is definitely very, very atmospheric by its very nature, and you can argue that the much brighter color palette used in the AGA version detracts a bit from that. Personally, I think both versions look great. Of course, I will be covering that when we talk graphics, but I have no personal preference for either version graphically. I just decided to cover the AGA version, and so I've done just that. The introduction went over the plot, but I'm going to delve a bit deeper into it because I like digging into plots, especially when I'm trying to grow vegetables. Ha! Ha! Anyway, a not very powerful special machine thing was developed. And of course, that machine didn't like being not very special and not very powerful, so it started to evolve itself and became very, very powerful and very, very special. It eventually turned on its creators, and you can imagine that wasn't pretty. So after doing a few wishy things here and there, things turned very, very sour. So you now have an engine that did things it wasn't supposed to be doing, which sounds a lot like the engine in my old car. 6 mercenaries are called in to try and deal with the chaotic engine, and of course they come in 6 different shapes and sizes, with different weapons, extras, and statistical abilities, or attributes, whatever you call them, but I will come around to that later on. The game can be played 1 player with a computer assistant or 2 players cooperatively. I suppose the 2-player cooperative mode is somewhat optional, but you will likely quickly find that you are better off trying to cooperate, completing the different levels. Let's do technical stuff now, and then spend the remaining of the video talking about gameplay mechanics, and general comment thing. From a graphical point of view, and that is irrelevant of which version, the AGA version has brighter colors and a more lively palette, but outside of that, the graphical quality is the same. And the graphical style is very, very Bitmap brother-esque. They always manage to deliver games with a distinct graphical style, and you may or may not like that style or enjoy it or whatever else, but there's no denying that the graphical quality is very, very high. There's a certain amount of detail level that you don't necessarily see in other Amiga games, and everything is very, very clean and very, very crisp and moves very, very smoothly. And yeah, those versions, I think, graphically looks amazing. From a sound perspective, the sound effects are very, very fitting for the game. You have the explosions and grunts and all sorts of other sounds that you expect from a game of this type, and they are all of a very, very high quality, and they fit and suit the game very, very well. The musical side of things, the music in general is just, well, you may not like the style, but I think it's amazing. The title music is great, the in-game music is great. I like the fact that the in-game music starts a bit quiet-ish thing and then turns a bit more upbeat as you play. And it suits the tone, it suits the style, it suits the gameplay. Yeah, the sound design in general I think is of an extremely high quality and very, very enjoyable. The speech in games of this type and this era could be a bit gimmicky and a bit intrusive, but the speech in this game is informative, and the information that's called out is information that you may find relevant, and the quality of the speech is very, very high. You have no issues hearing what's being said, and just like any other sound in this game, I have no complaints. Very, very high quality, clear as crystal, and all that kind of stuff. This is a bit silly because crystal is visual. Never mind. You know what I mean. The controls. You move your character around by moving your joystick around, and you shoot your gun thing with the fire button. The special you have available, you activate by holding down the fire button, and after a short delay the special will be activated depending on what type of special it might be. If you have multiple specials, you can cycle through them depending on what player you are. If you are player 1, you use left shift, and if you are player 2, you use right shift. There's another function, but I will get back to that after this technical coverage. The controls are very responsive and very accurate, and the flow and feeling of controlling your character in general feels very, very spot on. The basic premise of the gameplay is to find the exit. As you move through the different levels, you will come across various different power nodes that you need to activate by shooting them, and once you have activated all power nodes, the exit will open and you can progress to the next level. Now, of course, it's not going to be that simple, because there will be various different monsters of various different types that will try to block your progress, and of course they have to be defeated or avoided in order to get around them. And if you defeat them, they will usually drop coins which can be picked up and spent in the upgrade shop. As you navigate the different levels, you will find various things you can pick up, and that can be coins, it can be weapon power-ups, it can be special charges, because the special the individual characters have limited charges, and food, which restores your health, which is always good. But you also have two different types of keys. The silver keys are vital for progression of a given level, as they will unlock areas that leads towards the exit eventually. But the gold keys, they unlock special secret areas, or they may spawn some coins or something, and they are definitely worth picking up. Just be mindful of the fact that the areas they unlock doesn't have to be in visual range, and you may have to go around and try to find the coins, as well to say the areas that they unlock. The different mercenaries have different weapons, which is hardly surprising, but the more important thing is the fact that they have different specials. Most of the characters have specials that go bang in some sort of way, and depending on what character you're playing, it could be a smart bomb kind of thing that works on the character, or it could be something like a stack even of a dynamite that can be thrown over walls, which of course can make it very, very useful. But there are two characters that have unique specials. The gentleman has a map, that will spawn a map of the immediate area, and the creature has a health kit thing, which will restore a small amount of health on use. Those characters though are quite flimsy in the health department, and of course if you're playing a two-player cooperative game you can have one player which is very tough and then have a somewhat weaker player doing supportive stuff or supporting stuff. But the single player game, the Bitmap brothers were actually quite clever about it. If you want to have access to something like the map but don't feel like playing the gentleman because he can be a bit wimpy, you can take him on as an assistant, and by hitting the spacebar you can switch between your active special and his active special, because the computer system will not use their specials. So you can actually gain access to them without having to play the character itself, which I think is a very nice touch. What is a bit of a not so nice touch is that those characters are usually also very clever characters, which is a double-edged sword. Because part of the cleverness can be in their greed on picking up coins and other pickups, like picking up food when they're on full health and you are struggling to keep yourself alive because you are on your last hit. The various statistics you have available comes in the form of skill, speed, health, and wisdom. The skill is basically the governing thing for the potential growth of the other abilities and is directly tied to the potential weapon upgrade level. Speed and health should be rather self-explanatory, and wisdom is only important for the single player game, as it improves the so-called cleverness of the computer assistant. So if you want to play this game with your old Auntie Bessie or whatever she might be called, you unfortunately can't improve her player skills by improving the character's wisdom. Doesn't work that way. There's no randomness in this game. Anything that spawns in one game will spawn in another game based on a trigger or proximity or whatever else it might be. So you are not blocked by randomness, which is put in a game just to complicate matters for you for no reason besides complicating matters for you. The difficulty can be a bit steep, but that is due to your rather limited health. But you are likely to be the one making things more difficult for yourself, because you are competing against your friend or the computer assistant in picking up items, and that usually means you end up charging headfirst into an unexplored area, getting yourself mauled in the process. In closing, this game, both from the public and from the press, is one of the highest rated Amiga games ever. And in the process of making this video, I learned to understand why. For what it is pure excellence. On that note, thanks for watching, take care, see you next time, bye bye for now.